Hi everyone, in this video I'm just going to go through some select homework problems, hopefully from the review. That way if you had questions, these could be a good way to kind of quickly get them answered. Again, I'm not going to do all of them, but I'm going to try to just quickly go through some of the highlights here in terms of common things that we did this chapter. So classifying triangles by side. So there's three that you need to know. There's equilateral, which is where all the sides are the same. Equilateral. Okay, then if two sides are the same, that's what we call isosceles. If none of the sides are the same, that's a scalene. This fourth one here is also isosceles because it's got two sides the same. In terms of angles, there are four. The first one is a right because it's got a right angle. 6, since all of them are less than 90, it's acute. 7, since this one has at least one that's larger than 90, it's obtuse. 8 is a unique one. It is an acute, but there's another phrase. Since all the angles are equal, we call that equiangular. Okay, so equilateral and equiangular are actually the same types of triangles. Number 9, find the value of x. So again, I'm just going to do one of these. I'm going to do 9 and I'm going to do 11. So remember that all triangles add up to be 180. So I know that there's 2x plus 90 has to be equal to 180. So I get that 3x plus 90 equals 180. So when I solve for x here, I get that x has to equal 30. Now when I plug it back in, this is 30. This angle would have to be 60. In 11, this is kind of a unique one. There's two ways to solve. I'll show both. So if we know these two angles are 50 and 70, that means we have the total so far is 120, which means that this angle here has to be 60 in order to complete the triangle. Well, these form a linear pair, meaning they are supplementary, so they should add up to be 180. So I can just go x plus 60 equals 180, subtract 60 from both sides, and so I get this angle is 120. Remember, this is actually a theorem that was the exterior angle theorem, that the exterior angle, like x in this case, is equal to the sum of the interior components, so 50 and 70. I have to be 120. So this is another way that you may want to approach a problem. Down here, so it's very similar. I'll leave 12. Now 13 is another exterior angle problem. So we know that y has to be the same as the two interiors. So angle y has to be 158 degrees. Now 4 is a unique one, and this is one I definitely want to focus on. We know that the two angles are equal. We know this is 90. So we know that 180 has to be equal to the 90 that we have here and the two x's that we have here. So again, we're just going to solve. So subtract 90 from 180. Divide both sides by 2, and I get 45 for my value of x. Now this is why I wanted to do one of the questions with exterior angles, is because in this case, I know that this has to be equal to this angle plus this angle. I can't find this angle. I don't have enough information. So we have to rely on the fact that the two interior angles opposite to the exterior have to be equal. Now this is a solvable problem. So I'm going to subtract x on both sides, add 22 to both sides, and then divide both sides by 2. Whoops, there we go. So I get x equals 51. The best way to check this is to just plug your x value back in. So if I add these together, I get 131. If I do 3 times 51 minus 22, 3 times 51 is 153 minus 22 is 131. So as long as those values match at the end, you're in good shape. Okay, so 16 is actually kind of a challenging problem, at least I think, first. So we want to use the fact that we know this is a 180 degree triangle in order to find the y value. So we know that because it's 39 in the one, the other side has to be its complement, in which case 39 take away from 90, sorry, I just had to look it up, it's 51. Now, if I know that this angle is 51, this angle is 50, that's 101 altogether, which means this has to be a 79 degree. So now we can finally actually work our way into the x angle. So I know that 56 plus 79 plus x, all three of these have to equal 180, giving me with 45 for the x. All right, the last one I want to do in this section is number 9. Just because this is an isosceles, it's kind of important to remember, like 18 and 19 are pretty similar. Whenever the sides are the same, the opposite angles are also the same. So I know that 3x minus 11 has to be equal to 2x plus 11. So if I minus 2x on this side, minus 2x on this side, I get x minus 11 equals 11. So therefore, x has to be 22. Unfortunately, I'm not done. I got to plug 22 back in, which gets me 44 plus 11, which is 55 here. And since it's isosceles, it's also 55 here. Now that I finally know that the two angles in these corners are 55, that means it's a total of 110 so far, which means this angle must be 70. So now I actually have a way to solve for y. 2y equals 70, so y is 35. Now this 21 is very challenging. If you check my answer key, I try to draw it out with different color angles to help. Okay, so with this angle, the way that I thought was the best way to approach it was to first look at it with this angle in mind, this obtuse triangle. So I know I have 40 and 20 so far, so that's 60. So that means 40 must be 120 degrees, okay? So I think that's kind of a really helpful start, at least for me, which means angle 2 is 120. And you can kind of see based on linear pairs that 3 and 1 must be 60. Now that we have 1, right, we now know that 6 has to be 30 in order to make that triangle work. And so now that we have all these components, we can look at the final angle out here, number 5. And this is where I think it gets a little bit hard. So sometimes I think it's helpful to redraw. And so I know that this is 40. We know that this whole section has to be 110. So that leaves me with 150. So angle 5 must be 30, just like 6. Okay. So the only thing I'm going to do for number 22 here is just kind of help you with the drawing. And I think it's helpful that you find the rest. So isosceles triangle, remember that isosceles has what's called the base angles. Those are the two same angles. Okay, these two are the same. And then the vertex is up at the top. We know that this is 44. And so that's all I really want to help you with there. I think you should be able to find the other two angles now with that information in mind. Okay, and then the last part of this section, lesson 2, about finding, so anytime they give us this information, draw the triangle. So I know that A is 3x, B is x, and C is x plus 20. If you don't draw the triangle, there's nothing more I can help you with because that's really the start. And I know that if I add all of these together, so 3x plus 1, total of 5x plus 20 equals 180. And now subtract the 20. And so finally, x would have to equal 32. So each of those angle components is 32. So B is 32. Angle A is 32 times 3, so it'd be 96. And C, angle C is 32 plus 20, so that would be 52. Okay, so I'm going to take a short pause here, and then I'll have lesson 3 and 4 in my next video. Thanks, I'll see you in the next one.